Yo, what's up, humans and bots alike? I am Ghangasrath, and welcome to Scrollin Through the Floasis archives. Now, if you have not seen my intro to the series, definitely check it out wherever I have that I that just boops in. So this episode, I'm going to be talking about this discussion right here, watered down liquid. So what is this discussion about? You know, with a comical name like this, you would think it's a little more lighthearted. In fact, it gets quite heated. Well, when you go through this series, there's going to be more discussions similar to this. I'm not going to cover all of them, as I mentioned in my intro, but this one I'm going to shorten as well. I'm going to only give you 3 things to think about with it, and you can read the rest on your own time. These are just 3 things that I think are the most important and I feel are the most applicable to a Glover who just wants to read about something interesting. Now, premise of it, right here. From the Mad Max Thunderdome thread, Plain White Tom makes the statement, I just wanted to make sure liquid stays its own style of dance, you know? June poets, not really, what do you mean by that? 0. Has anyone else noticed how we're incorporated in the popping wiki in related styles and techniques? Anyways, here's what I think Plain White Tom's getting at. I'll use popping for my example. Basically, popping has all these techniques filed underneath it. Dime stoppin', floatin', boogaloo, etc. Now, when a person looks at it as a whole, they say that person is poppin'. Now, for example, when someone does some liquid, and let's say while doing popping, I'd like for them to recognize liquid on its own without generalizing it as popping, such as that person is doing liquid and popping, end quote. So that's the whole premise of this topic. So, that's the whole premise of this topic. The idea of not quite differentiating liquid from other things, but how do you make sure liquid stays its own style of dance, you know? And some people have some interesting responses to this. Others are a little critical about the idea of dance in general. So, first point I wanted to pull up is this first reply from Kai. And he says, the only reason why I've ever done popping or any other style of dance is to build a better understanding of my body and coordination mechanics that to improve my liquid. So, as a Glover thinking about that, I noticed that literally everyone has their own style. You cannot say that one person is the exact same as another person. Although in some points you can. And with that being said, it's like there's different sub-styles within gloving, such as impacting. You got like tech heads, you got some flow heads, and well, I don't know. I categorize people more so about a specific concept than a general style, such as if someone's whip heavy, then I'll say that they do a lot of whips, right? That person would most likely be in N2O, right? Someone who's a little more flow heavy would be on wet. Very liquid would be wet. Flow is a whole different discussion. Tech is a whole different discussion. But what I'm getting at is, with this comment, the only reason why I've ever done popping is to build a better understanding of my body and coordinations, is the idea of specializing in a specific thing and making that your base. Instead of using just the basics, what if you were to just have one base and build around that? Which is what I tried to do, but then I wound up wanting to teach and so I had to teach myself stuff and wanted to become like a tech head. So you obviously have to learn all the not only the new stuff that come out, but try to understand every small thing about the general parts of it. And so you wind up learning more about the general parts instead of just your base and working around it. So that's one thing that you can get out of this. Second one is right here. I think the main differing factor is message boards. Popping has had a ton of boards over the years. Liquid has had a few also, such as OGC, House of Rave, Reflective, Floasis styles that are umbrellaed under Popping do not have boards. Or at least I have never stumbled across Tatsaros.wtf. Now, as you know, like, he meant this statement to be kind of comical, obviously, with that last like Tatsaros.wtf, but this is a big thing right here, man. Like, not on so the moment I found this thread, I was looking for more threads similar and more like archives like this. But OGC, House of Rave, and Reflective, even Floasis shut down, right? So I can't find any good like discussions or articles that are older than these. So if you guys do have any great ones, definitely hit me up, especially if I didn't scroll through it already. And then also a good point to make is that now that we have Facebook, that revolutionized, revolutionized is a big word, but it definitely changed the way that dancers corroborate, is that the right word? I don't know. But for example, instead of a Tatsaros.wtf, there's like 3 tutting groups that I personally am a part of on Facebook. One of which is specifically geared towards gloving or tutting in gloving. So I mean, they get very intricate in Facebook groups. You know what I'm talking about? So yeah, that's a second thing. Third thing right here, and then I'll let you read all the rest. I'm just gonna scroll all the way down to the bottom, which is, in my opinion, the most important part. The 2 last replies. I think it's sci-fi put it. I think it's really easy to learn or teach liquid within a solid structure. And the MK Ultra puts, I personally find constructive criticism helpful, but nobody taught me how to dance. Not to say I didn't observe people get the basic idea, but every time that I've tried to force myself to learn something, it never comes out looking right. I usually learn new moves by letting go on the dance floor. It's probably just me, because I successfully taught a few of my friends the basics. Now, this idea goes back to what I was talking about in that first thing about the concept of teaching. Now, I'm a very opinionated human being, and so when I think of this concept of watered down liquid, and I think of trying to teach people the basics, you gotta think to yourself, as a teacher, you wind up learning all the general stuff and breaking it down. And then by breaking it down, you realize that everything within that is concepts. In fact, liquid is quotable for being like one definition of liquid is the space between, right? So if you really think about it, right, all of these, such as speed control, emphasis, mastery of different grid subsets, those are all things that you'll learn with the basics, and which are concepts within even the basics. So you gotta ask yourself, what are you gonna teach what are the basics you want to teach, and then when you separate it into different concepts like that, so like what concepts in speed control do you want to teach, what concepts within the hand wave do you want to teach, and what would be beneficial to the student, right? Because then you got to think on the other side of the board. It says, like, you know, sci-fi even put, I think it's really easy to learn or teach liquid within a solid structure, and a good solid structure for this is, in my opinion, the LPC's liquids tutorial, because that one is just, that's solid. That's guaranteed one of my favorite videos of all time on YouTube. And so you kind of want to, you have to think about the student. Do you want to withhold certain things from them? Do you want to teach them things that will help them teach themselves? And how can you do that? You got to know how they are and stuff. And then you also got to think about the student, what would be best for them to learn by themselves, and how can you help them with that creativity. So this has been the watered down liquid discussion on the Floasis archives. Definitely check it out if you want to read more about it. I just gave you 3 things to think about, but there's so many. There's a lot more happening in here. You know, some heated discussion as well, which I didn't cover, obvious reasons. Once again, shout out to the people who were in this discussion. Shout out to Tommy Von Florentin for putting this out there for the community to see. Hit me up if you got something that you feel like I should scroll through, and be sure to like this video and hit subscribe to see when the newest vids come out. Thank you for watching. Keep chill and shoots.